I never really played music growing up very much. So, I mean, I played a little short stint of piano as a child, so I had some basic sort of notes and chords and things like that, some basic information, but it was very short. It was between moves in my family, and so I didn't play for very long, but I had some basic information, and I always just really liked music a lot. So all growing up, I just listened to music all the time. I started with I started with Michael Jackson and all that kind of stuff that you would listen to growing up in the 80s, but then I remember I think I picked up New Order in 1997, or it was Substance, and that changed my world. I was just like listening to it in a car somewhere, and I ran out and bought it, and then got really into sort of alternative music from an early age and began listening to that. So I've always been very music obsessed, and for most of the periods in my life where I'm working really hard at work, I have like an album that's very connected to it. So finishing my PhD was like 9 Inch Nails, Pretty Hate Machine. There was always just like an album that was playing that was centered around, my life centered around work. I mean, Soul Coughing, what was there? Well, so there was actually I'm going to forget the names of Soul Coughing albums, but there's a lot of soul coughing that happened through a lot of my tests in college. And there was Bush, we know the one with Glycerine and all that, 16 Stone, that I think was during another period of like hard work. There was, yeah, well, so there's music always. There's like Radiohead and all those kinds of different bands, and a lot of real lesser known like indie rock bands like now, probably Jealous Sound and Frightened Rabbit, which will probably be very well known soon. They're Rock My World. And help me through a grant application. I mean, so like I think it's like each grant application I could kind of go through it and, you know, make a little journal, but it's like each kind of major application or test, Fisher Spooner for my boards, medical school boards. So yeah, so a lot of albums, and but I always listen to music, and I don't know, that was my obsession. And so that's a long tangent on my obsession with music, so I always liked music, but I just considered it something that I spectate. Like I did sports, I did, you know, school activities, like leadership activities, and I did school, and that's what you do, and then I just listened to music. And it wasn't until graduate school where I had two friends, Taylor Antrim and Bruce Hickey, who were also Americans studying at Oxford, and they would always talk about, like, they both played guitar, we loved the same music, we listened to the same music, Modest Mouse, and we'd always be talking about these different bands we loved. And you know, and they always talk about starting a band. They kind of fantasy band all the time, and I was like, stop fantasy banding, just start a band. Like, you know, now's as good a time as any. And they said, well, we at least need a rhythm section. And I didn't really know what that meant at that point. I was like, well, what is that? You know, I knew drums, I guess. And they're like, well, we at least need a bassist. And so that next day, Bruce and I went out and bought a bass guitar, and we started a band. And we just started writing right away. We never did any covers because I think we would have made the cover sound so bad that we just did only original stuff. But we, in this like very short period, we just gigged out all the time, like around Oxford and stuff, and went crazy with it. Yeah, I'm still playing. I've been playing ever since. So that would have been like 1997. So I've been playing for a decade probably, on and off. But I joined a band in medical school that I've been with ever since. It's probably a release. I can't really say it's integrated. I think it'd be. I don't really want it to be integrated. I think it'd be bad if it was sort of like I don't know. I think it's a different thing. It comes together. I definitely get a sense that when I'm most creative scientifically is when I start. Like I told one of my graduate students recently, because I was, you know, thinking about all these projects and developing projects and reading a lot scientifically and trying to explore new areas. And I told her that I had realized that I was actually in a good place when like 3 songs just spit out of nowhere. And I can tell my brain is like in one of those active creative places when random like melodies pop out. So